Have you ever really stopped to think about, well, how you think? Most of us just assume our minds are like these neutral observers, just recording the world exactly as it is. But what if I told you that's not what's happening at all? It turns out our brains don't just see reality, they actively build it. Okay, let's get into this. So let's just start with that big question right there. Is your mind a camera? Is it just sitting there passively taking a perfect objective snapshot of everything that's happening around you?
Well, the answer is a big, resounding no. And honestly, the truth is way cooler than that. Your mind is much more like a team of two. You've got this sensitive artist who's always looking for beauty and patterns, and you've got this super vigilant security guard who's constantly scanning for threats and problems.
So here's our game plan for today. First, we'll dive into the brain's hidden duality. Then we'll explore the engine of survival and its counterpart, the engine of creativity. After that, we'll see how these two modes come together to form one mind. We'll look at how our thoughts are actually born, and finally, what all this means for the reality that you construct for yourself.
Now, this idea of an artist and a security guard working inside your head isn't just some nice little metaphor. It's actually part of a larger framework called the brain kinematics model, and it helps explain this constant push and pull that's going on up there. At its very core, the model says your brain isn't just a single processor chugging along. Instead, it's running on two fundamental and often competing systems. One is built specifically to handle stress, problems, and things that just don't fit. And the other? It's designed to absorb beauty, harmony, and elegant patterns.
All right, let's start with the first engine, our security guard. This is the part of your mind that's all about survival, and it really kicks into high gear whenever you're dealing with stress.
This process has a name, strain response. Now, the most important word on this slide is forced. This isn't information you're choosing to let in. This is the stressful, difficult, sometimes painful stuff that the world just throws at you. A sudden problem at work, a startling noise, a difficult memory that just pops up. And this strain response, man, it is hard work for your brain. It's a high-resistance, energy-guzzling process that forces your brain to slowly and sometimes painfully rewire its own patterns. But, and this is the crucial part, it is absolutely necessary. It's how we adapt, how we learn from what goes wrong, and ultimately, how we survive.
Okay, now for the other side of the coin, the artist. This is your engine of creativity. It's the system that lights up when your brain finds something it considers beautiful.
We call this one strain resonance. And just listen to that language. It's the total opposite of a forced input. This is the kind of information like an amazing piece of music, an elegant idea that just clicks, or a perfect geometric pattern that your brain is actively, desperately starving to receive.
And unlike that survival engine, this process is incredibly efficient. It's smooth, there's almost no resistance, and it uses very little energy. It's not about just helping you survive. This is what helps you flourish. It's a creativity multiplier that leads to this fast, joyful expansion of how you see the world. Okay, so we've got these two modes, right? Survival mode, which is a real grind, and creative mode, which feels effortless, like a flow state. What's amazing is how this simple duality can explain a surprising amount about, well, just about everything.
I mean, just look at how this plays out across the board. In science, strain response is that grueling process of an experiment failing, forcing you to be more rigorous. But strain resonance? That's the pure joy of discovery when a beautiful, elegant theory just clicks into place. In art, you get the dark, trauma-fueled work of someone like Goya versus the joyful, harmony-driven beauty of Farsian. It even happens when you're asleep. Nightmares are your brain running survival drills. Those awesome, relaxing dreams? That's your brain in its creative playground.
So that brings us to the big question. How do these two engines, the security guard and the artist, actually work together to create a single thought? Well, this is where we get into the secret two-phase process of how we think.
It really is like a dance. Step 1. A thought is almost always kicked off by the survival engine. Some kind of problem, a conflict, a bit of pain. That's the spark. That's the strain response. But a spark isn't a fire. For that thought to mature into a real idea, a solution, you need step 2. The creative engine has to kick in, and it starts sucking in all these harmonious bits and pieces, analogies, images, connections that fit the pattern.
So if there's one thing to get here, it's this. Stress sparks the process, but it's beauty that provides the scaffolding to build a solution. The problem might light the match, but it's the harmonious, resonant ideas that let you actually construct something useful with it.
All right, let's zoom all the way out for a moment because the implications of this model are genuinely profound. This is about how we experience life itself.
According to something called continuity theory, your brain activity isn't just a series of separate thoughts firing one after another. It's actually one continuous, unbroken flow. So our two engines, strain response and strain resonance, they aren't two separate machines. They're more like the crest and the trough of a single wave, just oscillating phases of this single ongoing process of being.
And that leads to a pretty mind-blowing conclusion. We never experience raw, unfiltered reality. We just can't. What we're actually living in is a constructed continuity of being. Our entire reality is being actively shaped moment by moment by this constant flowing dance between our deep-seated need to survive and our powerful drive to flourish.
And if you take away just one single idea from all of this, let it be this one. Pain sparks thought, but beauty completes it. Our minds need both. We need the friction of a problem and the harmony of a solution, not just to get by, but to create, to understand, and to literally build the very reality we all inhabit.